done all of the 6 previous ones, as well as all in one group and one tier list as well. And the towns tier list, I will have all of those linked down in the description. But let me know down in the comments where you guys would place your favorite and least favorite tier 7 units here, and do not forget to like and subscribe, and let us get started. We're going to start here with the Titans. I think honestly the Titans to me are pretty devastating. I think it's honestly awesome to have a tier 7 backline unit, and I think that they do a very strong job because of that. They're such very defensive. They can definitely constantly do a high amount of damage, and obviously to get to them, you're just going to take a shit ton of damage too. So I think it's very cool that they made a backline tier 7 here, and I think they're very strong at what they do for sure. And saying that, we will go to what I think is probably one of the next strongest, which is Angels. I think the amount of healing that you can do with these Angels, and they're so hard, they're not necessarily so hard to kill, but the fact that they can just constantly essentially heal themselves, bring themselves back to life, it's pretty devastating, and they can do a very high amount of damage. But their weakness is definitely just their health pool, but they're not super easy to kill by any means, but definitely that's their weakness if they have one, for sure. But the healing and the resurrection and everything that they have is very devastating. Honestly, I'm going to put the Bone Dragons down here as probably the worst tier 7 in the game. Definitely one of them. They're not very strong. They don't have a whole lot of defense. They're not super attack heavy. They do have some auras when they attack people, but that honestly isn't even too amazing in itself either. So they're definitely weaker, and don't get me wrong, I'm definitely a Necropolis main for sure. They're definitely my favorite town, but Bone Dragons are weak for sure. Devils here. I would say Devils here are pretty strong as well. They're pretty devastating. I would say that they're maybe down one. They're very mid. They're not super devastating. They don't have anything cool that they do. You know, Angels heal, resurrect, and everything. Titans are, you know, from a distance, which is awesome. At least the Bone Dragons, while they're shit, they have aura attacks. But the Devils, not so much. Now, they're definitely not bad. But honestly, their attack, I would say, is pretty similar to like mid-tier 7 units. And then their defense, honestly, kind of the same too. They're just very mid-tier 7. They're not bad, but they're definitely not like... They're definitely not down below B, but they're definitely not S either. They're pretty solid, but nothing honestly insane to me anyway. Cyclops here, I'll kind of do the same. The only benefit really that Cyclops has is just the fact that you can pick up a goblin and throw them. That's really it. They're not the worst, but yeah, they're really not too great either. And that's if you put the goblin next to them, or you want to lose one goblin, which is insanely small amount, obviously. But yeah, they're nothing too special, but they're not that bad either. These lizards though are honestly pretty fucking devastating. I would say they're arguably the strongest tier 7 in the game to me anyway. They are on the higher end of damage as far as tier 7s, but defense, they're easily probably the most defensive unit in the game. They are super defensive, super hard to kill. Um, I think they are definitely one of the best units in the game for sure. Um, they are a little bit slow. They don't have a whole lot of movement in comparison to like angels and devils and all these dragons, but that is truly their only downside for sure. But that they're tough, super tough. The black dragons, um, I'll just give them to A. I don't feel like they're insanely devastating. They can definitely hit multiple targets, and that can be very devastating. But other than that, um, in a 1v1, um, good amount of damage for a tier 7, obviously, but not insane. Defensive wise, they're good there as well. I would say that they're more defensive than the green dragons here. But honestly, yeah, that's the biggest thing that carries them is just the fact that they can hit multiple units with their attack. I guess if there is somebody behind them, but if not, then I would still put them probably here, but I just don't feel like they're S tier worthy. And then honestly, the green dragons as well. I would say about the same. They're nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy with the attack or defense. Can hit multiple units as well, much like with the fire from the black dragons, but um, honestly, just nothing too insane to really say about them. Again, not too bad. Defense is relatively there. I do feel like they're a little bit weaker than the black dragons. But hitting multiple units with their attack as well is a strong upside for sure. But overall, not the greatest, not the worst. But that is all of the tier 7 units in the game. Let me know down in the comments where you guys would have placed anybody and everybody. Don't forget, like, subscribe. Check out all my other tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 videos as well as just the one where I grouped it all together, which is a pretty big video. And then also the towns tier list as well. And we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.